Thousands of years ago, before the first marble of the Parthenon was ever carved, the people of ancient Greece knew that the night did not belong to the living, nor did it belong to the Olympians on their golden throne. It belonged to a shadow moving between the silver olive groves, a titaness whose name was whispered in the flickering light of Crossroads. Hecate. You are not just closing your eyes to rest. You are stepping into a time-worn sanctuary, a world where the air is thick with the scent of wild thyme and the distant, rhythmic pulse of the Aegean Sea. Tonight, we leave the frantic noise of the modern age behind, traveling back to a landscape blanketed in a cool, primordial moonlight that has watched over travelers for millennia. As you lie here, feel the weight of centuries settling around you, turning your room into a sacred glade where the boundaries of time begin to dissolve. Our guide is not a god of lightning or war, but the goddess of necromancy, the moon, and the night, a guardian who prefers the silence of the wilderness to the clamor of the heavens. She is the daughter of fallen stars and ancient destruction, yet she carries a heart of pure compassion for those who wander aimlessly in the dark. Imagine her now, standing at the edge of a cedar grove, her presence as steady and grounding as the roots of the earth itself. She does not demand your worship. She simply offers her light to guide you home. The transition is beginning now, a soft shift in the atmosphere as the violet swaths of the sunset deepen into a profound, protective indigo. Every breath you take draws in the freshness of this ancient, moon-kissed air, filling your lungs with the same stillness that once calmed the philosophers and poets of old. You are safe in this forgotten pocket of history, held by a goddess who understands that being lost is often the first step toward finding where you truly belong. The heavy curtains of reality are parting, revealing a world of obsidian shadows and silver paths where every rustle of the leaves is a fragment of a lost myth. Hecate is waiting for you, her two torches glowing with a soft orange flicker that promises protection and profound rest. Leave behind the anchors of your worries and the chains of the day, for in this realm, time is measured only by the slow silver waxing of the moon. You are part of the night now, a traveler in the kingdom of the silent, ready to discover the healing mystery of the dark. As the stars begin to sparkle in the clear, inky sky overhead, you feel a deep, visceral connection to your deepest self. The ancient trees are leaning in, their silver-backed leaves whispering a welcome that has echoed through the ages, inviting you to let go and simply be. Hecate turns, her eyes reflecting the infinite depth of the cosmos, urging you to follow her into the beautiful velvet depths of the night. The path before us is illuminated by a light that never fades, and the air is becoming more fragrant and cool as we descend deeper into the heart of the myth. Now, let your awareness drift entirely into the present physical moment, even as the ancient landscape of Greece begins to hum in the far background of your mind. Feel the air in your room right now, how it has subtly changed, becoming cooler, thinner, and more fragrant, as if the very atmosphere of that distant, silver-dusted world is leaking through the fabric of time to find you. The night air is no longer just a temperature. It is a living presence. It is a soft, invisible silk that brushes against your skin, carrying the faint, clean scent of crushed limestone, wild mountain herbs, and the ancient salt of the Mediterranean. High above you, in the grand theater of your mind, the ceiling has slowly dissolved into an infinite, inky expanse. The sky is a deep, resonant obsidian, so dark it feels like heavy velvet, yet it is alive with the brilliant, pulsing light of countless stars. These are not just distant points of light. They are the ancient eyes of the cosmos, the same constellations that Hecate herself looked upon as she wandered the lonely, winding paths of the Peloponnese. They sparkle with a slow, rhythmic intensity, flickering like dying embers in a sacred hearth. And as you watch them, Your own breathing begins to synchronize with their steady, eternal pulse. Imagine now that a single, focused beam of light begins to descend from that vast celestial ceiling. It is soft and deliberate, moving through the air with the grace of a falling feather. As it draws closer to you, it begins to take a tangible shape, manifesting as your own personal moon, floating gently just a few feet above your bed. This is your creation, a silent gift from the goddess to anchor you to the earth. You might see it as a slender, delicate sliver of silver, sharp and bright like a hunter's sickle, or perhaps it is a heavy, magnificent orb of glowing alabaster, its surface marbled with the shadows of ancient craters and frozen, silent seas. It glows with a light that does not pierce the eyes, but warms the deep architecture of the soul, a phosphorescence that vibrates at the exact frequency of total peace. The moon hangs there, defying gravity, a cosmic anchor in your private sanctuary. As it hovers, you can feel the faint, magnetic pull of its tides within you, a gentle tugging at the very edges of your consciousness, inviting you to let go of the shore and float out into the deep, still waters of total relaxation. As this personal moon glows, it begins to emit a light that is more than just vision. It is a physical sensation, a cosmic weight that is both heavy and weightless at once. This silver radiance begins at the crown of your head, a cool, liquid sensation that pours over your scalp like poured silk. It finds the tiny, weary muscles around your eyes, those tired sentinels that have been strained by the harsh glare of the modern world, and it coaxes them to soften, to unbind, to sink back into the warmth of your skull. The light flows down over your jaw, releasing the hidden grip of words unsaid and tensions held tight throughout the long day. It is a slow, methodical inundation of peace. As the moonlight reaches your shoulders, it acts as a heavy, comforting blanket, pressing you down into the mattress with a deliberate, loving force. The stress of the day, the deadlines, the conversations, the lingering noise is nothing more than a fine dust. And this light is a gentle, persistent rain that washes it all away, turning it into a thin mist that evaporates into the night. Your chest rises and falls with a newfound lightness, each breath a tide that brings in the silence of the stars and carries out the echoes of the world. Feel your muscles relaxing more and more as the weight of the day melts away, leaving behind only the pure, essential core of your being. Your arms feel long and heavy, your fingers curling naturally like the petals of a night-blooming flower closing for the evening. The silver light continues its journey down your spine, illuminating each vertebra with a soft, numbing glow, releasing the coils of energy that have kept you upright and vigilant. Your hips sink deeper into the bed, finding a perfect, effortless alignment with the ancient earth beneath. The mattress is no longer just furniture. It is the cradle of the ancient world, the very lap of the Earth Mother, offering you a support that is total and unconditional. You are becoming a part of the landscape, as still as a marble statue in a moonlit garden, as quiet as the shadows that stretch across the temple floors of old. The heavy, silver weight of the moonlight has anchored you so deeply that the physical world feels like a distant dream you are waking up from, while the world of myth is becoming the only reality you know. This light is intelligent, moving into the joints of your knees and the arches of your feet, smoothing out every ripple of restlessness until you are a pool of perfectly still water. You can feel the heartbeat of the world beneath you, a low, tectonic thrum that tells you that you are home. There is a profound sense of safety here, a realization that you are being guarded by forces far older than human worry. The moonlight is now a cocoon, a shimmering barrier of protection that filters out all that is unnecessary, leaving only the essence of rest. Within this cocoon, your thoughts are like slow-moving clouds, passing across the face of the moon without leaving a trace. You are drifting, floating on a sea of silver light that carries you further and further away from the banks of the mundane. The boundaries of your room are now completely gone, replaced by the vast open freedom of the Grecian night. The air is humming with a low melodic vibration, the sound of the earth breathing in its deep sleep. You are no longer tethered to the here and now of your daily life. Instead, you are suspended in the then and forever of the stories that have shaped human dreams for ages. The silence is no longer empty. It is a rich, fertile space where the seeds of legend begin to sprout. Can you feel the shift in the gravity of your mind? The mattress beneath you feels like it is resting upon a carpet of wild lupine, crushed mint, and soft, damp moss. The distant, lonely sound of a night bird's call echoes through the chamber of your mind. We are stepping away from the modern shore, leaving the flickering, artificial lights of the present hour behind as we wade into the cool, dark, and healing currents of the past. The stories are waiting, flourishing in the moonlight like night-blooming jasmine, and Hecate is standing at the start of the path, her torches raised high, ready to lead us into the heart of the heart. Ancient mystery, why no way? Follow the light, follow the breath, and let the ancient world rise up too. Meet your soul. The journey is no longer something you are doing. It is something that is happening to you, as natural and inevitable as the moon's silent transit across the black velvet sky. Imagine yourself standing on a high grassy ridge, overlooking the very heart of ancient Greece, a world that feels as though it was carved out of dreams and starlight. This is a land untamed and vibrant, a landscape of deep emerald valleys and jagged marble peaks that seem to pulse with a slow, ancient heartbeat of their own. Below you, the vast world stretches out like a living tapestry, woven with silver-leaved olive groves that shimmer in the fading light, sun-drenched vineyards smelling of sweet earth, and rivers that sparkle like liquid diamonds as they wind their way toward the distant turquoise embrace of the sea. This is a realm overflowing with the grand architecture of myths, where every jagged rock, every hidden spring, and every ancient gnarled oak tree holds a story that has been whispered for thousands of years. In this era, the world was a place of immense beauty and terrible wonder, where the gods moved with the grace of the invisible wind, and the monsters of legend lurked in the deep, untrodden shadows of the mountains. Yet here, on this ridge, you are untouchable. You are a silent observer in a time when the supernatural was not a distant thought, but the very breath of the earth itself, a constant, comforting presence that made the air feel thick with a sense of destiny and profound peace. As you look toward the northern horizon, you can see the shimmering, golden peaks of Mount Olympus piercing through the soft clouds, the legendary seat of the great gods who ruled the world with thunder, lightning, and unyielding law. To the people of this land, Olympus was a city of blinding light and rigid order, a place of high marble halls, echoing voices, and eternal feasts that felt far removed from the quiet struggles of the earth. But as the sun begins its slow, amber descent, casting long golden shadows across the valley, you realize that not all the magic of this ancient world is contained within those lofty golden heights. While the Olympians concerned themselves with the fates of kings, the shifting boundaries of empires, and the outcomes of great clattering wars, a different kind of magic was wandering the countryside. This was a quieter, more ancient kind of power, moving through the wild heaths, the silent coastal marshes, and the deep, fragrant pine forest. This was the magic of the earth and the stars, a primal force that did not seek to rule or to be worshipped in grand temples, but simply to exist in perfect harmony with the natural breathing rhythms of the night. It was a magic that lived in the scent of the damp soil after a summer rain, in the gentle rustle of the wind through the tall, dark cypress trees, and in the way the shadows lengthened across the white stone paths as the day began to grow tired and fold into itself. In these quiet, forgotten corners of the world, far from the gaze of the golden gods, Hecate found her true and eternal sanctuary. She was never a goddess of the bright, demanding sun or the loud public plazas. Instead, she was a creature of the soft, inclusive twilight, the patron of the spaces between the light and the dark. Though she possessed a lineage that could have easily claimed a seat among the highest and most powerful Olympians, she chose the absolute freedom of the wilderness instead. Hecate was the daughter of two mighty titans, Perseus, the god of ancient destruction, and Asteria, the goddess of falling stars. From her father, she inherited a power so vast and deep it could have leveled cities or shaken the very foundations of reality. A raw, primal energy born from the heart of chaos itself. Yet, Hecate, in her infinite wisdom, chose a different path for her spirit. Instead of following the legacy of destruction and fear, she looked upward to her mother's celestial domain. She saw the quiet, enduring beauty of the stars and the way they provided a silent map for the lost and a constant glowing comfort to the lonely. She realized that her immense power was not meant to break the world, but to gently illuminate the hidden paths within it, to be a light in the places where others saw only shadow. She found a sense of belonging in the stars and the comforting spirits around her, creating a sacred space where the misunderstood, the weary, and the wandering could finally find a moment of peace. While the other gods vied for influence, fought for the devotion of men, and built towering monuments to their own fleeting glory, Hecate built a home within the transition of the light itself. She became the guardian of the crossroads, the one who stood at the intersection of all worlds, the physical, the spiritual, and the eternal, to ensure that no soul ever had to travel through the dark alone. She was the mistress of the thresholds, the lady who watched over the doorways and the garden gates, welcoming the weary traveler with the steady orange warmth of her torches. To her, the night was never a void to be feared or darkness to be shunned, but a vast, starlit garden where the soul could finally rest, reflect, and shed the heavy armor of the day. Her presence in this landscape is like a cool, hidden spring in a vast desert, a constant source of quiet strength and unwavering, maternal protection that surrounds you now like a soft cloak. The air around you is growing stiller and heavier now, the vibrant oranges and burning golds of the late afternoon fading into a soft, bruised purple and a deep, calming indigo. The lingering heat of the day is being drawn out of the stones and soil, replaced by a gentle, refreshing chill that makes your senses sharpen even as your body sinks further into relaxation. You can hear the distant, melodic tinkling of goat bells as the shepherds lead their flocks back from the high pastures to the safety of the stone folds, and the evening birds are beginning their final, sleepy songs before tucking their heads under their wing. The great, bustling world of men is tucking itself away for the evening, closing its heavy wooden shutters and lighting its small, flickering hearths, leaving the wild, beautiful spaces of the earth to the creatures of the moon and the spirits of the wind. You feel a profound and unshakable sense of security here, knowing that as the harsh light of the sun retreats, a different, more personal guardian is coming forth from the shadows to take watch over the sleeping world. Watch now as the sun finally sinks below the jagged violet edge of the western horizon, leaving behind a glowing, ethereal trail of indigo, crimson, and slate. The first few stars are beginning to pierce the deepening sky, tiny, silver lanterns hung by the hands of Asteria herself to light the way for those below. In this moment of perfect, crystalline stillness, the goddess awakened. It is a slow, graceful transition, like a night-blooming flower opening its petals to the cool dark. Hecate rises from her place of rest within an ancient cedar grove, her robes rustling with a sound like dry leaves dancing on a forest floor. She is not waking to a world of toil, demand, or stress, but to a world of service, mystery, and profound serenity. She prepares her twin torches, the flames flickering with a soft, steady orange light that promises to cut through any mental fog and ward off any lingering fear. As the world of bright light fades into a distant memory, the realm of the moon rises to meet us, and with Hecate walking at our side, the descent into the night is the most beautiful and healing journey of all. The stars are her sisters, the night is her eternal home, and you are her honored guest, safe and held under the watchful, loving gaze of the one who knows every secret path through the dark. The world is quiet now. The path is illuminated by her glow, and you are exactly where you are meant to be. Deep within the ancient, breathing heart of a primordial forest, far beyond the reach of gravel roads or the flickering artificial lamps of modern human settlements, lies a sacred grove where time itself seems to hold its breath in eternal reverence. This is the secret birthplace of the night, a silent sanctuary composed of towering, ancient cedar trees and majestic pines whose silver-tipped needles are so densely interwoven that they create a living canopy, filtering the very essence of the distant stars before they even reach the earth. As you lie here in your mind's eye, you are slowly waking up within the soft embrace of this grove, nestled comfortably upon a thick bed of dry, fragrant needles and plush, silver-green moss that feels like velvet against your skin. The air in this place is fundamentally different. It is heavy and rich with the scent of damp, fertile earth, the sharp, refreshing resin of the mountain pines, and the sweet, woody perfume of cedar bark that has been warming in the golden sun all day and is now slowly, gracefully releasing its spirit into the cooling evening air. The silence here is profound and physical, a gentle weight that presses against your limbs, grounding you deeper into the soft, yielding floor of the forest. There is no wind to disturb the peace, only the slow, rhythmic respiration of the ancient trees themselves, a deep and steady pulse that vibrates through the cool ground and into your body, letting you know with every heartbeat that you are part of something vast, timeless, and entirely at peace. Look upward now, through the intricate, dark lace of the overhead branches, and watch as the great transformation begins to unfold across the heavens. The sky, which was once a brilliant and blinding blue during the hours of toil, is now undergoing a slow alchemical shift of breathtaking beauty. At the very highest peak of this celestial dome, the first hints of a deep navy are beginning to bleed inward, a concentrated and ink-like blue that slowly swallows the last lingering light of the day. Around the soft edges of the horizon, where the sun has recently dipped out of sight, the atmosphere has become a bruised and beautiful canvas of dusty pinks, muted corals, and deep, regal purple. These colors do not stay still. They flow into one another like liquid watercolors on a wet page, blending, swirling, and deepening with every slow breath you take. Watch as the pink gradually fades into a soft, tired violet, and the violet dissolves into a rich, saturated indigo color, so deep and pure it feels as though you could reach out and touch its cool texture, a hue that represents the very soul of the twilight. Lower down, near the dark silhouettes of the sleeping trees, the sky takes on a shade of warm cedar, a brownish-red glow that mirrors the protective bark of the giants surrounding you, a final, glowing vestige of the sun's warmth before the true, crystalline cold of the cosmos takes over the world. This shifting gradient of color is a visual lullaby, a chromatic descent that pulls your consciousness deeper and deeper into the soft world of dreams. As the colors of the sky deepen into their final evening forms, a remarkable and subtle shift occurs in the symphony of the wild. The animals of the day, the soaring hawks, the busy squirrels, and the bright-eyed songbirds are all nestling into their hidden nooks, hollows, and high branches, tucking their heads under warm wings and weary paws as they surrender completely to the coming dark. Their frantic daytime energy is entirely gone, replaced by a collective, exhaling silence that settles over the valley like a mist. But as the day dwellers retreat into their dreams, the choir of the night begins its first tentative and rhythmic notes. From the tall, cooling grasses at the edge of the grove, the crickets begin their high-pitched, steady melody, a pulsing thrumming that sounds like the very heartbeat of the grass itself. Near the hidden, bubbling springs and the mossy, damp banks of the forest stream, the frogs join in with a slow, deliberate cadence, their deep, percussive croaks providing a grounding bass to the cricket's shimmering, silver treble. This is not noise. It is a harmonic layer of pure existence that actually deepens the surrounding stillness, a sonic tapestry that wraps around your weary mind and lulls your wandering thoughts into a state of rhythmic, peaceful repetition. Silence washed across the entire land, making the whole landscape sway in a slow, hypnotic dance of long shadows and ancient sound, where every leaf, every needle, and every stone seems to vibrate in anticipation of the rising moon. In the center of this shifting, magical world, Hecate is preparing her belongings for her nightly journey across the crossroads. She moves with a quiet, deliberate, and practiced grace that suggests she has performed these exact actions since the very beginning of time. She reaches for her long traveling cloak, a majestic garment woven from the very fibers of the dusk itself, its heavy fabric shimmering with the same navy and indigo hues that now dominate the vast sky above. As she fastens the cloak around her shoulders, the fabric makes a soft, shushing sound, like the silent wings of a great owl passing through the trees. She gathers her two great torches, carved from the silver wood of an ancient lightning-struck oak that once stood on a high cliff. These are not mere tools of light. They are sacred extensions of her will, the eternal beacons that will light the crossroads of the entire world tonight. She checks the humble supplies in her woven satchel, her bundles of dried, healing herbs, her curved silver sickle for the midnight harvest, and the small clay jars of sacred oils that smell deeply of lavender, myrrh, and night-blooming jasmine. Every single movement she makes is a sacred ritual, a slow-motion dance of preparation that signals to the universe that the day is officially over and the quiet, sacred hours of the night have finally begun. You watch her from your bed of moss and ancient needles, feeling a deep, spiritual sense of privilege to witness this intimate moment of cosmic transition. The world around you is becoming more abstract and less defined, the sharp edges of the trees softening into dark, feathery shapes that melt against the indigo sky. The smell of the forest is intensifying now, the growing coolness of the evening air bringing out the deep scent of the hidden, damp places where the ferns and the wild mushrooms grow. You feel a light, pleasant trance beginning to settle over your mind, a state where the boundary between your own slow breath and the gentle rustle of the trees is becoming blurred and indistinct. The faint glow from Hecate's yet unlit torches seems to pulse with a pre-light energy, a golden promise of the journey and the protection to come. You are no longer just a passive observer. You are being invited by the goddess herself to walk with her, to leave the safety of the grove and enter the vast moonlit expanse of the mythic Grecian world. The day is now a distant, faded memory, a faint echo that has no power over you in this sacred space. Hecate turns her head toward you, her face framed by the deep protective shadows of her indigo hood, her eyes glowing with the soft reflected light of the first billion stars. She does not speak with words, for the night has its own silent and profound language. But you feel her warm invitation in the very marrow of your bones and the depth of your soul. She is ready. The landscape is ready. The crickets have reached a beautiful crescendo of steady, vibrating peace, and the sky has finally surrendered its last stubborn hint of pink to the absolute shimmering majesty of the navy night. As she strikes the first torch against a stone, a warm, amber light blooms in the center of the grove, casting long, dancing shadows that seem to beckon you forward into the dream. The transition is complete. The sun is gone, the moon is rising, and the true story is about to unfold in the cooling, fragrant, and healing darkness. You feel your heavy, relaxed limbs respond to her silent call, your spirit rising like a mist to join her as we step out together from the shelter of the ancient cedars and into the infinite glowing and eternal mystery of Hecate's night. With the transition complete and the forest fully surrendered to the infinite, indigo majesty of the night, Hecate prepares for her sacred and ancient labor. She reaches down with a slow, deliberate motion to the bed of silver-green moss where she previously rested and begins to roll her heavy star-embellished quilt. The fabric is incredibly thick and dark, woven with shimmering silver threads that capture the flickering, dancing light of her torches, appearing like a miniature galaxy being carefully folded away into the safety of her satchel. This quilt has provided warmth on the coldest, most isolated mountain peaks and a soft landing on the hardest marble floors of forgotten temples. It is a portable piece of home that she carries into the deep wild. Once it is secured, she stands tall and regal, a pillar of calm, unyielding strength against the backdrop of the ancient, whispering cedars. She strikes her two great torches, known as the dataphoros, against a piece of jagged flint stone. One, then the other. The flames do not roar with a violent or aggressive heat. Instead, they bloom with a steady liquid amber glow, smelling faintly of sweet forest resin and sacred concentrated oils. These twin flames are her eternal signature, her eyes in the profound dark, and the luminous beacons that bridge the invisible gap between the world of the seen and the world of the hidden. As she steps out of the protective grove, her journey through the mythic landscape truly begins. Hecate does not walk the paved, dusty roads where the heavy chariots of kings travel, nor does she seek the shelter of the bustling, noisy city gates. Instead, she seeks the tangled, forgotten paths, the overgrown trails of the ancestors, and the silent, mist-heavy hollows where the geography of the earth meets the secret geography of the soul. She wanders the woods with a specific, unwavering, and maternal purpose. She is looking for those who are lost. In the ancient world, to be lost in the absolute night was a fate of profound and paralyzing terror. But Hecate's presence transforms that fear into a quiet, patient waiting. She looks for the living who have strayed too far from their campfires, their hearts hammering against their ribs like trapped, frightened birds. But more often, she looks for those whose wandering is eternal, the fragile spirits who have slipped between the cracks of life and death, the lonely ghosts who haunt the crossroads because they no longer remember which way leads home. To Hecate, there is no difference between the warm breath of the living and the cold sigh of the dead. Both are her children, and both deserve the healing warmth of her light. She moves with an effortless, gliding pace, her heavy robes making no sound against the grass, while her torches cast long, protective shadows that seem to sweep the path clear of any lingering anxieties. Tonight, however, the air feels heavier, charged with a strange, electric sorrow that she hasn't felt in many centuries. As she reaches a high limestone plateau where the full moon hangs like a heavy silver shield in the sky, she pauses to listen to the wind. The moonlight pours over her like a waterfall, illuminating the silver embroidery on her indigo robes and the deep, knowing lines of her serene face. In this moment of perfect celestial alignment, a premonition washes over her, cold and sharp as a mountain spring. It is a vision, not of a mortal soul, but of a divinity, a goddess, young, vibrant, and filled with the light of spring, who has been suddenly swallowed by the earth itself. Hecate feels the resonance of a mother's distant, agonizing scream echoing through the tectonic plates of the world, a vibration of grief so powerful it makes the very leaves of the olive trees turn their silver undersides upward in distress. She realizes that the balance of the entire world has shifted. A daughter of the light has been pulled into the deep dark, and the crossroads of the existence are trembling in response. This is a task that requires more than just simple guidance. It requires a witness, a protector who can walk into the deepest depths of the underworld and return with the absolute truth. Despite the immense weight of this cosmic premonition, Hecate does not rush or panic. She knows that in the kingdom of the night, haste is the enemy of clarity and peace. She continues her steady, rhythmic patrol, keeping her torches held wide apart, their amber light cutting through the creeping, white fog that has begun to roll off the hillsides like a slow-moving river. Her torches were a mark that those who were lost would know they were saved, a constant, glowing promise that the darkness is never absolute as long as a single flame remains lit in the heart of the woods. She speaks to the shadows in a low, melodic hum, a song without words that acts as a magnetic tether for any wandering or fragmented mind. You can hear this song now in the back of your awareness, a soft, vibrating frequency in the air that tells your tired body it is perfectly okay to sink deeper into the mattress, deeper into the stillness. The goddess is walking the perimeter of your very dreams, ensuring that no stray thought or lingering daily worry can cross into the sanctuary of your rest. She is the ultimate gatekeeper, and tonight her vigilance is doubled for your sake. The path leads her down from the high plateau toward a wide, moonlit meadow where the grass is tall, silvered, and shimmering with a heavy nocturnal dew. The meadow is perfectly silent, save for the distant, lonely call of a tawny owl hidden in the oaks. In the center of this vast silver expanse, Hecate stops her movement. There, bathed in the direct, unblinking light of the full moon, she sees a fragile figure. It is not the powerful goddess from her dark vision, but a smaller, more delicate, and mortal presence. It is a young, ghostly human soul, appearing as a soft, translucent blur of white against the dark, damp green of the meadow grass. The soul is huddled and small, its edges fraying like a piece of ancient, tattered silk ribbon, looking around with large eyes that have forgotten the warmth of a family hearth fire. It is a soul that has lost its way to the final gates of the beyond, trapped in the beautiful but devastatingly lonely limbo of the meadow. Hecate lowers one of her torches, softening its intense glow so as not to startle the delicate, shivering spirit, and begins to move toward it with the infinite, timeless patience of the stars themselves. As she approaches the spirit, the air in the meadow seems to grow perceptibly warmer, the scent of wild lavender, dried myrrh, and ancient honey rising from her robes to envelop the shivering soul in a fragrant cloud. The transition from the vastness of the cosmic premonition to the absolute intimacy of this single lost spirit is seamless and natural. Hecate understands with all her heart that saving the world begins with saving the one who is standing right in front of her in the dark. She reaches out a hand, not a hand of cold, unfeeling marble, but one of glowing, vital, and maternal energy, and offers it to the child of the mist. The soul looks up, and for the first time in an eternity, the reflection of a flame flickers in its eyes. The journey toward the deeper, darker mysteries of the underworld is calling from the shadows. But first, there is a cup of healing tea to be brewed and a story of comfort to be told. For even a goddess knows that the longest and most difficult journeys must always begin with a moment of true, shared comfort. The meadow holds its breath, the moon watches in silent approval, and the first great loop of the night's story begins to close around us, warm, protective, and as certain as the coming of the dawn. Hecate kneels upon the damp, silvered grass of the meadow, her very presence radiating a soft, golden warmth that seems to gently push back the pervasive chill of the midnight dew. The young, ghostly soul continues to shiver, her fragile form flickering like a candle flame, caught in a subtle draft, her small, translucent shoulders shaking with the invisible weight of 1,000 years of profound loneliness. With a grace that is both divine and deeply maternal, Hecate begins to speak. Her voice is not the booming thunder of Olympus, but a low, melodic resonance that vibrates through the air, words sweet and thick like warm mountain honey being poured over a tired and fragmented spirit. She tells the girl that the long wandering is finally over, that the shifting crossroads have led her exactly where she needs to be, and that the dark is no longer a frightening labyrinth, but a quiet, welcoming hallway leading toward a permanent home. As she speaks, the girl's flickering translucent edges begin to steady and solidify, her frantic nervous light softening into a calm, pearlescent glow that reflects the peace of the goddess. Hecate reaches out, her hand passing through the mist of the girl's arm, not with a cold or ghostly touch, but with a profound sensation of pure, radiant comfort that travels straight to the center of the heart. The girl looks up, and for the first time in an eternity, the reflection of the goddess's twin amber torches dances in her wide eyes, replacing the vast emptiness of the void with the golden promise of a hearth. They begin to move together now, not with the hurried or heavy pace of the living, but with a slow drifting glide that feels as natural and inevitable as the silent rotation of the distant stars. They journey toward the edge of the world, toward the gentle moss-covered descent that leads to the entrance of the underworld, a place that in Hecate's sacred realm is not a pit of despair or punishment, but a quiet, emerald garden of eternal, undisturbed rest. As they walk through the dark fringes of a sloping forest, Hecate pauses by a lush cluster of silver looping flowers. These unique blooms only open fully under the direct gaze of a high, midnight moon, their delicate petals shimmering with a faint phosphorescent dust that looks like fallen starlight. With a soft, deliberate movement of her silver sickle, the goddess harvests a single perfect stem. She leans down with a gentle smile and tucks the silver lupine carefully behind the girl's ear. The flower doesn't fall through her ghostly form. Instead, it miraculously anchors itself to her spirit, its cooling fragrance of mountain rain and wild nectar acting as a physical, soothing weight to ground the girl's floating anxieties. The girl touches the soft petals with a look of wonder, and a small, tentative smile finally breaks across her face, a silent acknowledgement that she is truly seen. She is deeply cared for, and she is no longer just a nameless shadow lost in the infinite dark. As they reach the mossy, ancient gates that mark the sacred threshold between the upper air and the deep, eternal quiet of the earth, the air becomes incredibly still and thick, smelling of damp limestone and ancient, sleeping roots. Here, beneath the protective, sweeping archway of a magnificent weeping willow, Hecate decides it is time for the sacred ritual of the transition. She gathers a few fallen branches of aromatic cedar and dried bay laurel from the forest floor, striking a tiny, brilliant spark from her torch to kindle a small, contained fire upon a flat stone. The flames are a soft, flickering orange, casting long, rhythmic shadows that dance against the gray limestone walls. From her woven satchel, she produces a small, polished copper kettle and a bundle of dried herbs she gathered herself at the absolute height of the summer sun. As the water within the kettle begins to hum and then bubble with a low domestic sound, the scent of the ritual begins to unfold and fill the space. She sprinkles dried lavender blossoms and whole, golden chamomile flowers into the steaming pot, their ancient essences blooming instantly in the healing heat. The aroma is thick, sweet, and intoxicating, a perfect blend of floral softness, earthy apple-like notes from the chamomile, and the clean, medicinal snap of the wild lavender. It is a scent that completely bypasses the analytical mind and speaks directly to the deep nervous system, signaling to every cell in the body that the time for vigilance is over and the time for total surrender has finally arrived. The fragrant steam rose into the night, weaving between the dark trees like a living ribbon of pure peace, carrying with it the heavy, soothing molecules of the sacred herbs. Hecate pours the glowing liquid into a small, hand-carved clay bowl, the steam rising in white, curling wisps that mimic the elegant shape of the girl's own spirit. She hands the warm bowl to the soul, and as the girl inhales the deep vapor, her form becomes even more solid, more vibrant, as if the tea itself is stitching the broken fragments of her memory and her being back together. This is the multisensory anchor of the goddess, the primal heat of the fire, the sweet taste of the floral honey on the tongue, and the overwhelming cloud-like scent of lavender that acts as a heavy velvet curtain against the noise of the outside world. You can almost taste the warmth yourself, a liquid heat that starts at the back of your throat and spreads slowly down through your chest, melting the very last stubborn knots of tension in your tired muscles. The gates of the underworld are no longer a place of mystery or fear. They have been transformed into the doorway of a quiet, dimly lit room where a soft bed is already turned down and waiting just for you. The girl sips the tea with slow, rhythmic gulps, her eyes growing heavy and peaceful, her spirit finally finding its true center in the rhythmic, comforting crackle of the small fire. Hecate watches her with a look of profound, silent pride, the way a mother watches a young child finally drift into a long-awaited, fever-breaking sleep. The ritual of the transition is complete. The soul is no longer lost or fragmented. She is simply waiting for her turn to cross the final silent bridge, wrapped securely in a protective cocoon of lavender, chamomile, and moonlight. The fire begins to die down naturally into a soft, glowing bed of red embers, the orange light pulsing like a slow, tired heart in the darkness. The stillness here is absolute and holy, a sacred vacuum where nothing can harm you and nothing is demanded of you. The girl leans her weary head against the soft indigo folds of Hecate's robes, her translucent eyelids fluttering closed for the last time tonight, her breathing becoming a faint, rhythmic echo of the goddess's own steady, eternal respiration. The transition from the world of the lost to the world of the found is finalized in the quiet, rising steam of a simple cup of herb. But as the soul finally settles into this state of deep, unshakable peace, Hecate's keen and ancient eyes catch a sudden, subtle flicker of movement back toward the silver meadow they just left behind. The goddess stands up slowly and gracefully, careful not to disturb the sleeping spirit resting at her feet. Far off in the distance, where the bright moonlight hits the tall, swaying grass at a sharp and silver angle, she spots another figure, a shadow that moves with a completely different kind of urgency, a presence that feels both regal and frantic, filled with a desperate energy. The tranquility of the tea ritual remains behind them, a lingering, comforting scent of lavender still hanging in the cool air, but the thread of the story is already pulling Hecate back toward the crossroads of the world. She recognizes the distant, golden shimmer of a different divinity, a trail of beautiful but wilted flowers left in the wake of a heart-wrenching, desperate search. The goddess of the night adjusts her heavy indigo cloak, her twin torches glowing a little brighter as she prepares to meet this new and powerful arrival. The peace of the first soul is secure. The transition is safe, and now the great, unfolding myth of the season's change begins to beckon from the very edges of the velvet dark. Hecate leaves the small, dying embers of the transition fire behind, her footsteps silent and ghost-like, as she drifts back toward the expansive, silver-washed meadow, where the world feels as though it is held in a crystalline suspension. The lingering scent of lavender and chamomile still clings to the heavy indigo folds of her robes, a quiet ghost of the peace she has just provided to the wandering soul. But the air ahead of her is fundamentally different. It is charged with a strange electric sweetness, the intoxicating fragrance of crushed narcissus, blooming jasmine, and wild lilies. A scent that belongs to the vibrant height of a spring afternoon, yet here it is, vibrating in the very middle of a cool Mediterranean night. As Hecate rounds a cluster of ancient, twisted olive trees, whose silver leaves shimmer like fish scales in the moonlight, she sees the figure she spotted from the gateway. It is Persephone, the daughter of Demeter, but she is not the frightened, delicate girl that the later myths of men would often describe. She is standing in a direct pool of unblinking moonlight, her dark hair a cascading waterfall of waves adorned with small, glowing white flowers that seem to pulse with their own inner, bioluminescent light. There is a mischievous, knowing glint in her wide eyes, a spark of secret rebellion and profound discovery that Hecate recognizes instantly as the mark of one who has found their true self in the shadows. Persephone is not hiding from the night. She is dancing with it, her bare feet pressing into the dew-heavy grass with a playful, rhythmic energy that suggests she is waiting for someone or something that the rest of the sun-drenched world has long forgotten how to perceive. Hecate watches from the deep, velvety shadows, her twin amber torches lowered to a soft golden hum that mimics the sound of a distant beehive. She observes with ancient patience as Persephone reaches down to touch a wilting lily, and under the gentle pressure of her fingertips, the flower doesn't just return to life, it begins to glow with a vibrant violet intensity that illuminates the grass around it. There is a profound and heavy sense of intimacy in this moment, a realization that Persephone has found a version of herself in the dark that she was never allowed to explore under the constant, suffocating golden gaze of her mother and the harsh, judging light of the bright sun. Hecate moves forward slowly, her presence announced only by the soft, warm amber glow of her torches reflecting off the dew. Persephone does not startle or flee. She turns with a slow, knowing smile, as if she has been expecting the goddess of the night to arrive and witness her beautiful secret. In this quiet, wordless encounter, without a single sentence being exchanged between them, Hecate understands the deep truth that has been hidden from the poets, the priests, and the kings of the upper world. Persephone is not a victim of the dark. She is its perfect counterpart, its missing piece. She has been communicating with the deep, silent places of the earth for a long time, whispering her dreams into the fertile soil, and listening to the ancient, echoing answers that rise from the limestone caverns far below the reach of the roots. The realization settles into Hecate's heart like a heavy, warm stone at the bottom of a clear pool. Persephone and Hades, the much-feared and misunderstood lord of the underworld, are deeply, quietly, and irrevocably in love. This is a sacred secret entirely misunderstood by the world of men, who see only the coldness of the grave and the terrifying finality of the end. But Hecate, who walks the boundaries and sees what others refuse to look at, sees the powerful magnetic pull between the vibrant bloom of spring and the deep, steady winter of the soul. She sees that the great king of the shadows has not been stalking Persephone with malice or greed, but has been waiting patiently at the very edges of her peripheral vision, offering her a kingdom where she can be a queen of her own spirit rather than a mere extension of her mother's harvest. Their love is a quiet, subterranean river, flowing steadily beneath the surface of reality, a bond forged in the absolute silence of the night and the shared understanding of the exquisite beauty that can only be found in the shadows. It is a relationship of true equals, a perfect balance of light and dark, growth and rest, that keeps the entire world turning in its grand, seasonal sleep. Suddenly, the ground beneath Persephone's bare feet begins to vibrate with a low, tectonic hum, a sound so deep and resonant that it vibrates through the very marrow of your bones as you lie in the stillness of your own room. The grass parts away from a smooth seam in the earth, and the air becomes thick and heavy with the scent of dark pomegranates, cold mineral, and ancient stone. The earth opens, not with a violent tear or a frightening crash, but with the smooth, inevitable grace of a heavy velvet curtain being drawn back, or a long closed door being opened from the other side by a familiar hand. Persephone is pulled down into the chasm, but as Hecate watches with her keen nocturnal eyes, she sees the girl's true expression. There is no terror in her face, no screaming plea for help to the heavens. There is only a sudden, sharp gasp of delighted surprise followed immediately by a look of profound, soaring relief and recognition. She is going toward the heart of the world, toward the one who truly sees her for who she is. Love does not always make logical sense to those watching from the outside. It is a primal power that none can control, a gravitational force that pulls us toward our true destiny, regardless of how the world chooses to name the journey. The earth closes as quickly and as silently as it opened, leaving behind only a single crushed narcissus flower and a silence so deep it feels like the entire universe has collectively held its breath in a moment of holy awe. The silver meadow returns to its absolute stillness, but the air is now stained with the lingering heavy vibration of that massive hidden transition. Hecate stands alone over the spot where the earth met the sky, her heart heavy with the complicated knowledge of what is about to unfold. She knows that the upper world will not understand the beauty she just witnessed. They will see only a disappearance, a theft, and a tragedy to be mourned with salt, fire, and bitter tears. And as if on cue, a new and jarring sound breaks the midnight peace, a sharp, ragged cry of maternal anguish that rips through the cooling air from the distant dark hills. It is Demeter, the great mother, her golden robes torn by thorns, and her hair disheveled by the wind, running through the olive groves with a single torch that flickers with a desperate, dying light. She is the very picture of human panic, her eyes wild with the sudden loss of the only thing that gave her eternal world its meaning. She arrives in the meadow, stumbling over the uneven ground, calling her daughter's name into the unfeeling indigo sky with a voice that cracks like breaking wood. Hecate does not hide or turn away. She steps directly into Demeter's frantic path, her own twin torches held steady and high, a contrasting image of eternal starlit calm against the mother's howling golden storm. Demeter collapses at Hecate's feet, her hot tears watering the very soil that just swallowed her child in love. She begs the goddess of the night for answers, for the night sees what the bright day misses, and the moon is the only witness to the secrets of the deep earth. Hecate looks down at the grieving mother with a gaze of profound, complicated empathy. She knows the full truth that Persephone is safe, that she is cherished, and that she has finally found her home. But she also knows that Demeter is not yet ready to hear that her daughter chose the dark over the golden light. Instead of explaining the unexplainable, Hecate offers her hand, her warm amber light enveloping the golden goddess in a protective, numbing glow. She offers to be Demeter's guide, to walk with her through the long, cold months of searching, to be the steady, unblinking flame that prevents the mother's grief from consuming the entire world in its fire. The search for the spring has officially begun, and as Hecate leads the way with a slow, rhythmic pace, the transition from the meadow to the deep downward descent begins once more. This time with a goddess of the harvest clinging to the dark, indigo robes of the night. The path is long, the air is cold, but the light of Hecate will never flicker, guiding both the goddess and your own drifting mind deeper into the heart of the story. Hecate leads the grieving and weary Demeter by the hand, her twin amber torches cutting through the thick, clinging veil of the upper world's heavy sorrow with a steady and reassuring glow. They begin the true and final descent, moving away from the silver-washed meadow and into the yawning, gentle mouth of the living earth. As they cross this sacred threshold, the environment around them completely transforms. This is not the cold, terrifying abyss of mortal nightmares or the dark void of ancient fears, but a majestic and silent subterranean cathedral of breathtaking beauty. The winding walls are made of smooth, weeping limestone, covered from floor to ceiling in a lush, thick tapestry of emerald moss that glows with a faint, bioluminescent light, pulsing like a slow heartbeat. The air down here is remarkably still, cool, and clean, carrying the ancient grounding scent of wet stone, sleeping minerals, and the deep, silent roots of the world. High above their heads, the arched ceiling of the cavern seems to vanish into a dark, velvet expanse, where shimmering veins of natural silver ore mimic the distant constellations of the night sky, creating a private, eternal moonlight that never fades and never judges. The sound of their footsteps is entirely swallowed by the soft, damp moss, making the entire journey feel like a slow, weightless drift into the very heart of absolute peace. Here, the frantic, buzzing noise of the surface world is finally silenced, replaced by the deep, rhythmic, tectonic breathing of the earth itself, a low-frequency hum that vibrates through your chest and encourages every single cell in your tired body to finally let go and sink into the support beneath you. As they merge into the vast central hall of the underworld, they find Hades and Persephone sitting together, not on distant or intimidating thrones of cold iron, but on a long bench carved from a single, massive block of translucent, glowing obsidian. The Lord of the Dead looks upon the goddess of the harvest, not with malice or triumph, but with a weary, profound, and ancient respect. Beside him, Persephone glows with a quiet, subterranean majesty that is entirely her own, her vibrant presence bringing a gentle touch of the spring's vitality to the silent, gray stone. A great deal is struck here in the presence of the night, a sacred cosmic compromise that will dictate the slow breathing pulse of the entire world for all eternity. It is agreed with solemn grace that Persephone will spend half the year in the golden, active light with her mother and half the year in the velvet, restorative dark with her husband. To seal this sacred and eternal vow, Hades produces a single, magnificent fruit from the depths of his garden, a bright, vibrant red pomegranate, its skin stretched tight and glistening like a polished ruby in the warm amber torchlight. Persephone takes the fruit with a steady hand, her fingers staining slightly with the deep crimson juice as she tastes the sweet, dark seed. This juice is the very essence of the earth's hidden life, a potent symbol of the beautiful necessity of the dark. It represents the profound truth that for anything in nature to truly grow, bloom, and flourish, it must first spend a season in the quiet, nourishing, and protected silence of the deep soil. The heavy tension that has gripped the world begins to dissolve like mist in the sun, replaced by a rhythmic cycle of coming and going, a predictable, comforting, and eternal heartbeat of seasons that promises that no winter is ever permanent and no darkness is ever without its purpose. In the soft wake of this divine agreement, Hades turns his dark, steady gaze toward Hecate, the silent witness who walked the long, lonely miles of the dark to bring the mother back to the child. He recognizes with a nod of his head that while he rules this vast realm and Persephone brings it a new kind of life, it is Hecate who ensures that the paths between the worlds remain safe, open, and illuminated for all who wander. With a voice that sounds like the slow shifting of deep tectonic plates, Hades extends a gift that shakes the very foundations of Hecate's ancient, wandering soul. He grants her a permanent, sacred home within the heart of the underworld, a sanctuary of her very own, carved into the glowing, moss-covered limestone cliffs that overlook the silent river of dreams. This is not a place of labor or a station of duty, but a place of true and final belonging. For countless eons, Hecate has been the eternal nomad of the crossroads, the lonely traveler with no hearth of her own, the silent witness to everyone else's homecoming, but never her own. Now, the king of the shadows and the queen of the spring opened their arms and their kingdom to her. She had never had a home before in all the long history of the cosmos, but now she was family, a cherished sister to the dark, a daughter of the night, and a protected guardian of the royal house of the earth. The heavy, star-flecked indigo of her robes seems to blend perfectly with the protective shadows of the hall, as she realizes that her long immortal search for a place to truly rest has finally reached its destination in the most unexpected and beautiful of realms. The wave of relief that washes through the great hall is palpable and thick, a warm emotional tide that counteracts the cool, subterranean air and fills the space with a sense of completion. Demeter, seeing her daughter's genuine happiness and the profound respect shown to her loyal guide, finally allows her own golden, frantic light to soften and dim into a gentle, honey-like glow. The mother's sharp, agonizing grief is replaced by a bittersweet but peaceful acceptance, a realization that her daughter has not been lost, but has grown into a powerful queen of two different worlds. You can feel this resolution echoing in your own mind right now. The lost has finally been found. The broken has been mended with silver thread, and the homeless has been welcomed into the warmth of the fire. The narrative tension that has kept your consciousness tethered to the waking world is beginning to unravel, thread by weary thread, leaving you floating in a vast sea of pure, uncomplicated safety. The underworld is no longer a destination to be feared or avoided. It has been transformed into a home to be embraced, a quiet, sacred basement of the soul where the fires are always lit, the tea is always steaming, and the blankets are always heavy and warm. Hecate stands tall between the two goddesses, her twin torches flickering with a steady, satisfied orange glow, her ancient heart finally anchored to a hearth and a family of her own. As the divine family settles into this new, harmonious rhythm of existence, Hecate prepares to step back out into the velvet night above. Her mission has not ended, for as long as there are bright stars in the sky and deep shadows on the earth, there will always be souls who lose their way. But the fundamental nature of her journey has changed forever. She is no longer a lonely, weary wanderer seeking a purpose in the void. She is a sovereign and loved protector, returning to her post from a place of profound inner strength. She adjusts her star-flecked quilt upon her shoulder, the fabric now feeling lighter and softer than it ever has before. She moves back through the glowing mossy corridors and up toward the surface of the world, her movements fluid, effortless, and rhythmic. This transition back to the upper world is not a departure from peace, but a carrying of that subterranean peace into the wider, breathing world. She is no longer alone in the infinite expanse of the indigo night. She carries within her the memory of the red pomegranate, the warmth of the underworld hearth, and the unconditional love of a family that exists in the deep, quiet places of the soul. The world above is still bathed in the quiet, silver blue light of the high moon. Crickets still singing their rhythmic, vibrating lullaby in the tall, swaying meadow grass. But as Hecate emerges from the dark opening of the earth, she does so with a renewed sense of you, sacred and maternal authority. She is the bridge, she is the guide, and now she is the daughter of the dark who has finally found her home. The path ahead is clear and soft. The air is fragrant with the scent of night-blooming jasmine, crushed mint, and damp stone. And the goddess begins her nightly patrol once more across the crossroads of the world. But tonight, every single step she takes is a quiet celebration of belonging and peace. She is the steady, unblinking flame in the window of the universe, waiting for you, watching over you, and ensuring that your own journey into the deep, healing sleep of the night is as safe, as nurtured, and as beautiful as her own. The darkness is full of secret life, the shadows are full of ancient love, and you are drifting closer and closer to the very center of the quietest, most magnificent dream you have ever known. Hecate wanders now through the high, fog-shrouded woods of the ancient Peloponnese, her movements slowing to a meditative, rhythmic drift that mirrors the slow turning of the earth itself. The air here is thick with a silver mist that clings to the ancient pines and the gnarled oaks, turning the forest into a silent cathedral of soft gray light and hallowed peace. She is soaking in the quiet, immense power of the high moon, her face upturned to the celestial glow that has watched over the rise and fall of empires, the blooming of 1,000 forgotten springs, and the silent closing of 1 billion tired eyes. Every breath she takes is long, deep, and steady, drawing in the absolute coolness of the night and exhaling a shimmering peace that settles over the deep valleys like a heavy velvet blanket of protection. The world is at rest, held securely in the capable, ancient hands of the one who knows the darkness, not as a frightening void, but as a fertile, beautiful garden of the soul. As she moves through the shadows, I want to remind you that you too belong to this profound stillness. You are not a stranger to the night, nor are you a temporary guest in its quiet, echoing hall. You are an essential part of this rhythmic respiration, a child of the same eternal stars that illuminated the path for the goddesses of old. The heavy indigo sky above is not pressing down upon you with weight. It is rising up from the horizon to cradle you in its vast embrace. The silence surrounding you is not an absence of sound, but a living presence of peace that allows your own inner light to glow more steadily and softly. In this sacred liminal space between the long day that has passed and the distant dawn that is yet to be born, you are perfectly, undeniably safe. You are perfectly held. The boundaries of your worries and the sharp edges of your thoughts have dissolved into the silver mist, leaving behind only the pure, essential core of your being, resting in the absolute certainty of the night. You can still feel the lingering warmth of Hecate's love whenever you step into the night air, even in the bustling modern world. It is there in the sudden, refreshing chill that touches your skin like a familiar hand, in the way the shadows stretch long, elegant, and protective across the cooling ground, and in the deep, resonant quiet that follows a heavy evening rain. Her presence has never truly left the crossroads. She has simply become the heartbeat of the stillness. She is the soft whisper in the falling leaves and the steady golden glow in the very center of the dark. If you are ever lost, she is always there to help you find your way, standing faithfully at the threshold of your dreams, with her twin amber torches, held high, waiting to lead you back to the warm hearth of your own heart. Her light is an eternal promise that you are never truly alone, and that the dark is always, always a place of sacred return and healing. Slowly, gently, we begin to return together from the ancient groves and the mossy gates of the underworld. The scent of wild lavender, chamomile, and damp stone begins to fade into the background of your mind, replaced by the familiar, comforting, and grounded atmosphere of your own room. Feel the welcome weight of your own blankets, the perfect softness of your pillow, and the steady, quiet, and automatic rhythm of your own breathing. The long journey through the myth is coming to a graceful close, but the peace we found there remains deep within you, a warm, golden ember that will glow throughout the long, silent hours of the night. You are back in your sanctuary, anchored to the present moment, ready to surrender the very last fragments of your consciousness to the beautiful, infinite, and welcoming dark. The world is still. The story is complete. The night is yours. Receive now this final quiet blessing for a night of restful, deep, and truly restorative sleep. May your dreams be as vast as the Grecian sky and as soft as the moss upon the ancient temple floors. May your heart beat in perfect time with the slow pulse of the ancient earth, and may your mind find the absolute, crystalline stillness it has been seeking all through the long, loud, and busy day. You have traveled far tonight through the flickering shadows and the steady light. And now it is time to simply be. It is time to let go. Your journey does not end here in the silence. It merely pauses to allow for the deep work of rest. I encourage you to join the sacred journey again whenever you feel the need for the night's embrace. For the paths of the mythic world are infinite, and there is always more to discover in the healing silence of the dark. The moon will always be there, watching over the world with its silver maternal eye, and Hecate will always be waiting patiently at the crossroads, her torches lit and her hand extended, ready to guide you home once more. She is a part of the night, and now you are a part of her peace. Let the very last of my words drift away now, like soft smoke rising from a dying hearth. Your body is heavy, sinking deeper and deeper into the bed. Your mind is quiet, a still pool of water reflecting the stars. The darkness is a soft, warm, and infinite ocean, and you are floating effortlessly upon its power. Surface, carried by a tide that knows exactly where to take you. There is nothing left for you to do. There is nothing left for you to hear. There is only the soft, deep, beautiful, and healing silence of the night. The light is fading. The air is still. The earth is holding you. Until then, sweet dreams. Until then, sleep. Until then, peace.